talk. So the first student that would like to welcome is Hannah. And Hannah is a final year student, and she is currently specialising in the pathway in social work and social professions. So welcome, Hannah.
Thanks, Emma. As Emma said, my name is Hannah. I'm in my third year of DN750, which is the CAO code for the course, but it's commonly known as Social Policy and Sociology. I'm in my final year, which is actually my third year, so it's a 3-year course, which is really nice. And I'm in the social work and social professions pathway. So I chose to go with this course originally because somebody came into my school advertising the course, because it was actually quite new. It had come from an older course that was specialized then into just social policy and sociology. It was more general, I think, previously. But what I found attractive about the course was it was a great direct route into social work. And that was a job that really appealed to me. So personally, I knew the pathway I wanted to go down from the very beginning. But I think it's really great for students who want to do some form of social work or social sciences, but they aren't quite sure of the pathway they'd like to go down. So why I went into the social professions pathway, as I said, was because I had a passion for social work from the beginning. I actually found that the general first year of the course was very helpful in helping me decide what pathway to go down. So your first year in DN750 is very general. It allows you to get some knowledge of sociology and social policy before then going down a specific pathway in the future. Some of the coursework that I did included psychology and introductions to social services, just general introduction to sociology. So I think what was great about the beginning of DN750 is that you have a very good foundation of knowledge before making your decision. So if you're someone who likes social sciences or social policy, but you're not quite sure what direction you'd like to go in terms of a career or college, I think it's great that you get to establish a foundation of knowledge before going on and making a decision for your future of your college career or the direction you'd like to go in with your permanent career. In terms of supports within UCD, I found that supports for me were very, very good. I personally suffer from a learning difficulty, so I actually went through the ALL program. And that provides specific supports for anybody who has learning difficulties or who would be coming from a situation where they would need a slight bit more support going into college. And I found that made the transition for me very, very easy, and it was actually very helpful. And I was really, really appreciative that that was there within UCD. It made the transition from secondary school to college a lot easier. Of course, there's the essay writing and the math supports within the library as well, which is great to have if there's ever a specific issue that you're finding particularly difficult within coursework or exams or essays. And it just gives you a sense of calm when it comes to having to deal with things that you aren't quite familiar with yet, knowing that you can use it. In terms of balancing academic and social life, I found that using the societies available and, of course, the sports facilities and sports clubs, I found that very useful. I myself am really big into theatre and acting, and so I joined the Drama Society and I joined the Musical Society. I really enjoyed participating in the activities and just getting involved and making friends outside of my course. It was really nice to have that diverse range of friend groups. I'm actually on this year's society's committee for the Musical Society. I'm an OCM, which is just an ordinary committee member. So I'd be involved in organising events, organising shows and fundraisers for the Musical Society. And that's something that I really, really enjoyed. I also, sorry, your question came up there. When I was originally in UC in my first year, I found that peer mentoring, which is another support, was very, very helpful. And I continued on to then become a peer mentor for my last 2 years. So I've been a peer mentor for the past 2 years. I think that provides a great support and another great social element when you first join in UCD in your first year. Peer mentors are usually within their degree a little bit further along, maybe a second year or third year, or in their final year if they're in a 4-year course. And they help the transition into college life for students, again, that little bit easier, which is an amazing support that UCD has. In terms of where my course can bring me career-wise, there's obviously the great variety due to the fact that DN750 or Social Policy and Sociology has a 3-way pathway system. So the 3 pathways are social professions and social work, which is my own one. Then there's society and public service. And then there's also work, organization, and people. And I think having that diversity and variety gives you a lot of opportunities in terms of master's degrees or even going straight into the workforce. For my own plans, I'm going to potentially go into the social work professional masters. So that's applied through when you're in your final year. It does require some service hours, so you have to build up a history of service hours. So I will probably do that in the academic year 2023, because unfortunately due to the pandemic I wasn't able to collect enough hours to apply this year, but I'm hopeful that with the graduation this year I'll complete my course and have enough time in a gap year next year to continue on with that journey. I'm just really excited to answer any questions if anyone has them, and I really do recommend DN750 for anyone who has an interest in social sciences, social work, or anything in terms of social policy. I think it's a really varied and thorough degree and will give you a great foundation of knowledge before going on to choose different things in the future.
Our second student now I'd like to introduce is Harry. Harry is a current second year student on our DN750, our Bachelor of Social Science and Social Policy and Sociology, and he's specialising in the work, organisations and people pathway. Welcome, Harry.
I'm Harry, and I am a second year studying BSocSc, Social Policy and Sociology. I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do after school, but I chose this course, Social Policy and Sociology, as my #1 course because I love the idea of studying human behavior, social issues, and society, and seeing how all those can relate and connect with one another. The pathway I chose was work, organizations, and people pathway because I wanted to study social policy and sociology more from a business aspect, and which I find really interesting. The course itself, I love all the modules in it. One module particularly I found very interesting was the introduction to work and organizational psychology. And that course was like business and psychology together. So you'd be looking at psychology in the workplace. And I found it very interesting. They covered topics like how to deal with stress and what makes good leadership. So I found that very interesting. And the course at the moment, for me, there's about like 12 hours a week. So that's good for anyone who wants to work part-time at the same while studying the course. Clubs and societies, I would recommend everyone join clubs and societies at UCD. They're one of the best ways to get to know new people. For me, I've joined the Music Society. I've really enjoyed attending those events because you get to meet new people who some have similar interests, some have different interests. And so you can just discuss music itself. And I've really enjoyed it. I've made some new best friends there. But of course, in UCD, I've really enjoyed this course. I say in future, I have an interest in human resource management. I say I'm going to go down that pathway, hopefully to bring my social policy and sociology skills to that aspect. I think people here should consider this course, DN750, if you have an interest in, news reading or listening to podcasts, and love sharing your own opinions and listening to everyone else's opinions, because there's a lot of that in this course. And if you really love doing those stuff, then I highly recommend it to you.
It's been really interesting hearing from the student perspective, just how the course evolves and the 3 years develop. But really, students want to know where this degree can take you. So now we're turning to our alumni panel, and I'm delighted to welcome our first alumni, Jack O'Byrne, who's a recent graduate of the Social Policy and Sociology in UCD. And Jack works as a HR administrator for Tuath Housing Association. Welcome, Jack.
Right, so hi everyone. As Emma said, my name is Jack O'Byrne, and I'm an alumni of Sociology and Social Policy in UCD. So just to avoid confusion, at the time when I completed my course, it was called Social Science. I understand course names have changed a bit since, and the Social Sciences course is a bit different. But basically, Sociology and Social Policy were my two main subjects. And then when it came to choosing this course, I was doing my leaving cert, and I was really unsure kind of what career path I wanted to go down. But basically, I knew I wanted a career with a purpose, and I knew I wanted to work with people in a meaningful way. So when I came across this course then at the Higher Options Career Fair in the RDF, I was really interested in the course content and how diverse the course was in terms of what I had to offer. So I ended up winning number one in my CAO, and then I got started in the course in 2017 at the time. So I'll take you through my journey on the course in UCD and my progress so far after completing the course then. So, yeah, so basically in first year, I took on some core introductory modules in sociology, which really help you kind of get a grasp on the different structures and patterns in society and the theories used to explain them. And then kind of the social policy side of things kind of explain more the state and government of things, what beliefs and behaviours shape and influences laws and policies. And we touched a lot on kind of Irish social policy and kind of what structure like, and from a historical perspective, kind of what has shaped the Irish social policy that we have today. And then kind of we expanded a lot on this in second year with more kind of specialized modules. So there's a wide range of topics to pick from. In sociology, you have like your foundations, sociology of gender, childhood and family studies, quantitative and qualitative research, sociology of war and violence, health and inequality, migration patterns. So it's very varied, and there's a lot of different kind of optional modules for you to pick from. And then from social policy, there's like racism in Irish society, policy making, implementation, evaluation, investigating social services, and that. So it's very varied, and then you'll have a lot to choose from that as well. And then there's also the option to choose elective which complement your studies. So when it came to kind of specializing in the second year, I undertook modules in both social work and HR because they're both career paths that I was keeping my options open to. I was very interested in them. And then eventually I was kind of leaning more towards the HR side of things. So then I went on the UCD Career Development Program, which then kind of put me in contact with a professional in the HR field. So I had kind of like one-to-one mentoring sessions. It's a great facility, honestly, that UCD offer, and I'd really recommend it to anyone once you're kind of halfway through your course and you're trying to like size up your career options then for after college. I'll really help you with networking, which will really stand to you then after studying UCD. So then in third year, I chose some more HR modules and then kind of finish off my final research project. So you have like the sociology research projects, which you'll do in teams. And it's really just to kind of study any kind of like social process. We kind of focused on like on a kind of different like social groups and social interaction in UCD. And then for my social policy capstone essay, which is kind of like a mini dissertation at the end, I did that on the cause of the gender pay gap. So I was a recent enough graduate now. I graduated in 2020. I did my last semester virtually because of COVID and that, and then I ended up graduating in my own sitting room instead of usually you'd kind of have all the graduations in the big O'Reilly Hall on campus and all the pictures down by the lake. So my experience was a lot different. But then after that, it led to then a master's then in human resource management, and then after that, then I started my career into a housing association as a HR admin. So I focus a lot on recruitment, well-being, diversity and inclusion, employee relations. So these would have been kind of areas that I would have been introduced to when I was studying UCD. And then after that, then I would have expanded on them a lot kind of in my master's really. So I suppose just a bit about kind of my career after college. I've been in this job about 6 months now. I was really passionate kind of about like working in a non-profit organization. It was something that, I was really geared towards when I was picking this course. And especially because like the social science course really kind of helps you if you want to kind of work in like a nonprofit or an NGO, like in very kind of like meaningful organizations, which is what I was drawn towards. And basically, like just in short, like what we do in Tua Housing is we provide long-term, safe, quality homes for a diverse range of populations in Ireland while building sustainable communities. So really kind of my studies in UCD just really helped me kind of in my role now. We studied a bit on housing policies and then kind of HR. So it really complemented my career then after my course in UCD. And then like I have a career there now, like there's the option to kind of work in the housing side of things. So kind of because of varies the courses, it's like all the different modules you can study. I'd say just having it as diverse as you can, just in terms of like your like module selection, because it'll really stand to your career after, because you'll have a lot of different options then when it comes to career progression. And then in terms of UCD and the campus itself, there's something there for everyone really. I was kind of more into the volunteering side of things, so I helped out a lot at student union events, and I was a peer mentor to new students. And there's societies as well there to cater for all interests. And at the start of college, like a lot of students would sign up for a lot of societies really. But I'd say just for income instance, just don't let that overwhelm you. It's very normal kind of for new students to want to join every society, but you're not expected to sign up to everything from day one. It's a big transition, it's a big campus and that, so don't feel like you have to take on too much from the start. Really just kind of focus on like settling into your course and finding your feet, and really just kind of getting to know people around you, and then the rest will follow on that. But yeah, thanks very much for your time, and I'll pass you on to the next speaker now.
I'm now delighted to welcome alumni graduate from the Social Policy and Sociology, Erin Nigonal. And Erin is a social worker in TUSLA, and she would have completed the professional Masters in Social Work following her undergraduate degree. So it's really interesting to see the end-to-end following from your undergraduate degree right up to working in a social worker profession. So you're very welcome, Erin.
My name is Erin O'Connell. I'm a social worker currently working in the Child and Family Agency. As Emma said, I studied, it would have been social science at the time, and I now know that the course has changed slightly. So I would have joint majored in sociology and social policy, and I would have finished my degree in 2017. When the Leaving Certificate points came out, I was short by 5 points for the social science degree at the time, and it was devastating for me at the time, as the CAO course points went up more than I had expected. I then went on to do a PLC course locally in social studies and really enjoyed it, and I actually made a lot of friends there. And in hindsight, it really gave me great grounding and really prepared me to go on to do the modules in sociology and social policy at the time. So then finally, after that year, I went on to do sociology and social policy, which was great. In terms of, I suppose, me studying sociology and social policy, I found them both really, really interesting subjects. And in terms of social policy, I really enjoyed learning about different policies and laws we have in Ireland today, and how we got there, and the implementation of the policies and laws in Ireland, and then looking at comparing them to different laws and policies in different countries, and kind of comparing and contrasting the differences between the two. And I suppose in a way how Ireland learns from other countries' policies and decide whether we implement them or whether we don't. So I found that really, really interesting, and really opened my eyes to what happens in Ireland and the decision-making process around that, and why we need to implement certain policies and certain laws, and perhaps certain policies and laws that would have been implemented maybe 100 years ago don't apply today because of society growing and moving and, adapting and changing all the time. So I suppose in terms of my career today, I find, I use kind of what I've learned, the skills and what I've learned in social policy and in sociology. I use them kind of every day in work without even thinking about it really. And after I finished studying my course, then I went on to do the professional masters in social work and specialise in social work, and I qualified in 2019. So it was really good actually, because in the masters we had a lot of people from different backgrounds, from different countries, people of different ages, male and female, and it was very, very great to get a good mix, you know, and to be able to hear everybody's views about society and behaviors and that. And so I suppose since then, I've worked in child protection, I've worked directly with children in the care system, and now I'm currently working with children in the care system, foster carers and foster families. And for me, being a social worker is great since there's so many different branches you can go into, from hospitals to prisons to primary care to the disability service to child and adult mental health service to working with vulnerable children and families, foster carers, and in the adoption services. And I suppose like the list goes on, and it's great that you can, you know, you can kind of go to loads of different places, and you can go to different branches of social work. You know, there's just so many different types, and you don't ever have to stay in the same place. You know, you can move on to different places, which is great to have that option. So at the moment, I'm currently working in foster care, and I actually just have been working on a recent recruitment project. We've been trying to recruit new foster carers on board, and we've just made calendars with the children and carers artwork on them, and we have sent them out to, I suppose, our network within the community, trying to, in hope that we will recruit new foster carers from that. I know that I always wanted to help people, so I knew that this was the job for me, and I get to help people every day. So for me, I love my work.
I'd like to introduce you to is Colin Godfrey, whose current role is a manager at EY, and he's working with the People and Advisory Services team. So Colin, I'm going to hand it over to you to give your experience and highlights from UCD on studying social policy and sociology and your career to date. Welcome, Colin.
Thank you, Emma, and thanks to everyone who's spoke before. So hopefully I'll tell you something a bit new, but as Emma said, my name is Colin Godfrey, and I'm a manager working in EY, where I work in consulting, and I specialise in the team which is called People Advisory Services, or sometimes more commonly just called People Consulting, to keep it simple. A lot of people wonder what consulting is. I myself had no idea what it was until the last few years, but management consulting is essentially the practice of kind of helping organisations to improve their performance. So clients come to us with an issue or a problem, or they want to get better and improve the performance against their competitors. We'll kind of look at that, see what they can do, and we'll also kind of work with them in kind of a project management perspective to kind of help deliver it. The area I work in, People Advisory Services, it's looking at the kind of the people and the workforce. So our job is, as part of that kind of business strategy or change they're trying to do, is helping them make sure that they have the right people in the organization, the right skills and capabilities, and just that kind of we support people as they look to kind of engage in any form of change. The area that I specialize in is change management on kind of large scale transformation projects. Change management is kind of essentially what it says in the tin. It's basically supporting, staff and employees as kind of a business undergoes a big change, whether that's kind of implementing kind of a new tech system, if it's changes coming from regulatory things, big one like GDPR a few years ago, and we kind of support them on that journey. We will do training with them, we'll do staff engagement, and just kind of help the business ensuring that people come along the change journey with them. I was in UCD studying the Bachelor of Social Science, which was slightly different. I first started in 2012 and I was there in 2015. And I think by today's standards, I would be in the pathway, which is work, organizations and people. That was slightly different when I was there. When I was in first year, in addition, I would have done a bit of economics, which I hated, so I never did again. But my favorite subjects when I was there was kind of crime, social services, and the justice system, criminology, HR, industrial relations, and you get a fantastic breadth of subjects when you do study kind of social policy, and sociology. I suppose when I look back on what sparked my interest in it, I'm sure like a lot of you're kind of unsure about what you want to do right now. I was the exact same. I didn't know what career I wanted, what subjects I really wanted to do. I knew I had an interest in business. I had an interest in law and politics, and I was contemplating, do I do something like law? But I also, I don't want to rule out business or going into the civil service. I'm pursuing something in that area, and I felt just that social policy gave me the best set of opportunities to choose from. The broadness of it is, I think, the biggest selling point of it. And for me, it made such a difference because I went in and it kind of brought me to a place where I saw maybe I actually want to go down the business route. And subsequently led me to consulting. When I look back on kind of my time in UCD and the highlights, the first one for me is I played the violin since I was 5 years old. So I joined the UCD Symphony Orchestra, which is brilliant because one, it gets to count as an elective subject, so easy A for all you musicians out there, but also the chance to get to know so many new people, do a skill. It's really sociable, so you would practice maybe once a week, a lot of going out and socializing afterwards, and at the end of the semester you get to kind of play in the National Concert Hall or Christchurch Cathedral, and there was also kind of trips to France and Sweden to play at other events as well. I suppose additionally to that, I love football, so I played a bit of social football when I was there. I suppose just the best memories is just getting to know people that have a similar mindset to you. Sometimes you come from schools where there's only 500 people in it, and then you go somewhere where there's thousands, and you just get to meet new people with new experiences and new mindsets. And I think that's probably the most refreshing thing about it all. In terms of my career, so when I graduated in 2015, I took a year out to kind of think about what I wanted to do. And I worked with a small startup firm, just doing kind of a bit of tech marketing. And then I decided I was going to go to UCD Michael Smurfit Business School, where I did a master's in HR. And I also learned what consulting was for the first time. So in 2017, I joined Deloitte, which is one of the big four, as part of their grad program. I had a really good time there. And then I had an opportunity to move to EY, which is another one of the big four, in January 2020, just before the pandemic, which made things a bit more interesting, joining somewhere brand new and kind of working in a complete virtual environment for most of it. But it's been a fantastic journey to date. And if I look back on when I joined social science, I never would have imagined I would have ended up here, yet I did. And I think that just speaks to the breadth of the opportunities that you're given in social science. In terms of like the transferable skills that you would gain from it, the big one is teamwork. So obviously in my line of work, we work with clients, we work in big teams and projects, and we're kind of always using kind of problem solving aspects to find out, how can we do this better, or how do we solve this problem? And a big thing I was thinking about as people were talking there is actually, I think you get the skill of just being independent and being able to do your own work and your own research. It's not particularly class heavy, and I suppose that reflects, the actual workplace, especially in business. A lot of it is you taking the initiative and the independence to do things by yourself, and that's something I think just I greatly benefited from as a result. When I look back on kind of advice I'd give to all of you, especially to those of you coming in out of school, I would say be open to all possibilities. So if you can avoid coming in with any preconceived of ideas of what you want to do, because you don't know what opportunities are going to present themselves, what subjects you're going to like, and where you're going to go from there. And also the last thing that I'll leave you with is never be afraid to reach out to people on LinkedIn, whether it's about a course in college, a master's, or a job. People I found, are always willing to have a chat to you, answer questions. So it's something I would get set up, especially as soon as you start, and just get connecting to people that have kind of taken the same path.